And you can always find us, too, on your local SuperTalk Mississippi radio station. But don't forget to watch us when you're on your computer, your mobile device. Just head on over to SuperTalk TV. And if you head over there today, you'll see, one, I'm not alone in the studio, which always makes me happy. But, two, we've got a game set up for you today to look at, a game you may or may not have ever played, and that would be a game of chess. You either love it, you've never done it, or it's frustrating, or all of the above, maybe so. But we love talking about the ever-growing interest of the game of chess here in Mississippi. And we've got with us Chris Baker. He is the founder and coordinator and tournament director of the Scott County Chess Club. And then we've got a 4-time state chess champion, Doug Stewart. So welcome to you both.
Welcome. Great to be here.
Congratulations, Doug. 4 times. So what years were you state champion?
2003.
Okay.
2005. 2008 and 2009.
Well, good. You went on a little tear there for a couple of years. All right, so chess is growing, Chris. I take full responsibility for that since we
definitely.
We have our annual chess update here on Good Things. But no, I love it. So over the last couple of years, how has the game of chess been growing here in Mississippi?
Well, first of all, we're seeing more tournaments and more people showing up for the tournaments. The numbers are growing, and so a couple of tournaments have set new records for their attendance. Mine and Scott County for one, and Scholastic tournaments. So we're seeing more people and more events being held. I was looking at the calendar last night, and I'm actually getting ready to add another event in my club in August. So that would mean that from now until the end of the year, there'll be at least one event every month to the end of the year. Somewhere, somebody's going to be playing chess in a tournament and an event.
What do you look at or consider before adding another one to your calendar, Chris?
Well, I guess it's different for everybody that gets into tournament organizing. But for me, I look at what kind of tournament I'd want to have. Regular as opposed to blitz. My 2 regulars have been successful. I've done 6 of those, and I've through 6 tournaments. I've combined attendance of 309 players have come through my tournaments. So those are mainly, one is just individually just come and play in the different sections, and the other one has got that plus teams. And the one I'm looking at adding on is what we call Blitz, which is a real fast game, 5 minutes or less type situation, which is a lot different from the regular. So you look at and decide on what kind of tournament you want to have and how many people you think it will attract. Make sure your venue will hold that. Make sure you have all the right equipment, enough boards. And there are a lot of factors that go into it. How much prize money, what do you want to give in reward? So, there's a lot of behind-the-scenes things that happen that go on before a tournament actually happens.
But it has to be rewarding to build it, and then they come.
Right. That's kind of what chess is. If you build it, they will come, and they are coming. And that's what I've seen in Scott County and what we've seen across the state.
So, Doug, how did you get into the game of chess? I'm sure it was prior to becoming state champion. So
It was. It was actually back when I was in high school. There's an organization called the Jackson Optimist Club. I actually don't know if they're around anymore. Hopefully they are, because they did good stuff. And they organized an annual chess tournament down there near Northside Drive. And I played in it, and I didn't do that good. But that kind of motivated me. It made me want to do better. So I think I started working really hard and got pretty good after a couple of years.
So what was it about the game of chess that sort of lured you in? You obviously walked away a little frustrated that you felt like you could have done better, but maybe didn't do as well as you wanted to. I think we all have sort of been up to that. And you said, you know what, I'm going to come back better prepared and see if I can't, win or take it to the next level. What was it about the game of chess that sort of inspired you to try a little harder?
So I think, I definitely was attracted to the complexity of it. It's not, it's a game that's accessible to everybody, but, there are definite levels to it. And one of the cool things about a lot of chess tournaments is you can go to a chess tournament and you can play people of all kinds of strengths. Like one round, you might play somebody who's really hard and then you lose. And then the next round, you get to play somebody who's a little bit easier. So it's very kind of like an adaptive game in how a lot of tournaments work, where typically when you're in a tournament, you're playing somebody about as well as you're doing in the tournament. So, and I was really just attracted to, the social aspect too. Like I had a lot of friends. We were friends with students from Forest Hill, other teams, in the area, and then just ongoing over the years. I love meeting chess players. When I go to tournaments around the country.
And it's also a game that you can carry throughout life. When you come to one of the tournaments that you put on, Chris, or maybe others, would you, is there age? Do you lump them in ages, or do you lump them as everybody, or is everybody just sort of like an open? Like if you're 18, you're going with 38, or if you're...
Well, in Scholastic, yes. The Scholastic tournaments, which is the students, a lot of it goes based on age and everything. You got your K3, K5, K8 high school students. They're grouped like that. But for the most part, chess is grouped according to your skill level, which is your rating with the U.S. Chess Federation. So like since I do, that kind of those tournaments, you have what we call an open, which anybody of any rating plays in that. But it's also the most competitive section. Then you have your under 800, under 1,200, whatever the tournament may be. So that groups people with the same rating range. Mm-hmm. That's the same. So you're, like Doug said, you're playing people comparably to your skill level and everything.
Because it wouldn't be fair if you show up and play Doug.
Yeah, unless you're in the open, which anybody can play. But I'm not. My rating is not as high as Doug's, but we may get paired up against each other in the open because it's all bets are off. You could play anybody with any rating, but that's why it's so competitive. But the rest of it is mostly according to your rating, what your rating is. But in the Scholastic, they do have the age consideration.
And you improve your rating by winning, I assume.
Winning, right. Well, winning someone who's got a higher rating than you, or, it's who you beat. And so the more games you play against good players, the better your rating is going to go up. And you could, conversely, you can take a hit if you lose to somebody with a lower rating. It shakes out eventually, but...
Doug, as you were kind of climbing the ladder headed to state champ, was that very intentional when you went back in? You were like, I want to be competitive. I want to see how far I can take this. Or was it just a slow progress? Like, okay, I got better. Oh, I'm a little bit better. I'm a little bit better. Oh, wow, look at me. I'm on my way to, winning state titles or anything. Or how was it for you in terms of looking at it as as a career, but as your chess career?
I would tell you that, several years in, I really had no expectation that I would ever win a state championship. We have so many good players in the state, and the competition, was very tough. And I've been playing a while, so I really didn't think I would get much better. But I did. I went on a little bit of a climb, a multi-year climb, got better, and started winning. So definitely defied my expectations, like never give up.
What's the path to being state champ in terms of chess? Like, is it starting out in your local tournaments, and then is there regional, and then like sort of state, or is there like a direct path to getting to that last game that gives you the champ title?
So the great thing is you don't have to qualify. So in order to play, we have our state championship every October. And if you show up and register and decide that you want to play in the open section, which is the toughest section, you can. Now, doesn't mean you're going to win, right?
Right.
So always recommend that people maybe, start out playing players of similar strength and get better. But anybody can show up and compete.
So it's one of those just the best man that shows up that day or woman. Because I assume that's also in the open category. That's how you sort of, how many, rounds ends up being in a traditional state championship setup? Or it can't be just one game. Like you have to be knocking people off.
Yeah, it's typically a weekend affair. So Saturday and Sunday, you usually play a total of 5 games. You play 3 games on Saturday and 2 games on Sunday. And a game can be like 4 hours sometimes. It just depends. You can finish a game in 5 minutes.
Which is the blitz that you were talking about, Chris.
It's a little bit different. What the state tournament is, it's a different setup. But if you, at a state tournament, the first 2 rounds are 60-minute games, and the last 3 are 90-minute games. But if you get lucky and checkmate somebody, that happened to me my first time at the state tournament. I got mated in 11 moves. It was my first time to do it.
Is that like getting knocked out?
Well, I lose the game.
Yeah.
There's not an elimination. You play all the games. But in that situation, my game was over pretty quick.
So from 5 minutes to 4 hours, there's a lot of variety when it comes to chess playing. But we've got more coming up next. But I encourage you to go to SuperTalk TV on your computer or your mobile device. You'll see my guests who are still in the studio with me, Chris Baker, who with Scott County Chess Club, as well as Doug Stewart, 4-time state chess champion. They are playing a game of chess. They were making some moves during the break here and talking sort of about it, which I think is very interesting. I have no idea what's going on. I mean, I kind of know the idea of chess. And I was asking you, Doug, if there was any kind of like research that shows that if you're good, like say at math, you may be good at chess, or if there's like, because it's critical thinking, number one, I would have to assume, but then there's also ability to take risk involved with it too, and sort of see in the future maneuver. I don't know. But you say it's not necessarily one type of person or the other that could be good at chess.
Yeah, and part of it is I think smart people are distributed throughout life, through all careers, right? And so I've seen where, people that drive trucks for a living, show up at a chess tournament and just beat me badly. One of my best friends in chess, he's an apartments maintenance guy, and he's been a 4-time state champion in Mississippi also. So people come from like all walks of life, and the child invasion is very real in our event. You might think like, you might not lose to, an 8-year-old in basketball, but you can't. It's like losing in a video game or something. You expect you might lose to an 8-year-old in a video game, and I promise you can lose to an 8-year-old in chess.
Cards are the same way, which technically they can't gamble for like poker or anything like that, but people will tell you there are kids out there not gambling, but they can beat you in a hand of blackjack poker or whatever, it may be, because they can just get the sequency or I'm sure there's words for it. So what does make a good chess player? Who is somebody, like what skills would you need to at least go into it? I feel like I don't have any of them, so I'm sure I could figure out a game.
You'd be surprised. You would.
I don't know. I get anxious. I second guess everything. I get worried, start to break out sweats. And so probably not the best chess player. But what does kind of make for a good person in terms of chess?
So I think, you have to be somebody who's prepared to spend some time in it, like any sport or hobby. It takes time and effort to get good at it. You've seen where, it's not unusual for people to play online like a couple hours a day. That's one of the cool things that came along with the internet is, you could be playing chess against somebody from India, and there's a lot of people that play in India right now. So
Really?
Oh, yeah, it's huge. In fact, there's a 17-year-old from India that's about to play for the world championship title.
Do you think that's what's also opened up a little bit for like kids' curiosity, is that they don't have to do like the analog board game, they can have the digital sort of ways of chess or checkers or any of the other things?
I think that's something that they've really liked, is that they can play online whatever they want. Like I was playing in an online tournament a couple months ago, and one of my opponents was a junior high or high school kid from the Atlanta area, and he's like in the back of his parents' car playing on the phone against me. I can see it because you have to have, like Zoom on. And it's I hate to use the word intimidating, but it's like, oh, if this kid beats me while he's in the back of his parents' car, that's going to be. Fortunately, I did win the game. So
I just appreciate the kid doing that, instead of there's so many other things that they can be doing on phones. Yeah. So what do you think the influx of kids' interest in chess now, like never before? Are there scholarship opportunities? Is there opportunities to make money? Like, why are kids sort of flocking to chess? I think it's great that they are, but usually there's an alternative motive for kids to go to something like that than maybe other sports.
I think there are some programs across the country where there's college teams, where some colleges have specifically funded that area, so that tends to attract some players. I think also just in general, like if you look at what's happened, travel baseball, travel soccer, you just have a lot of interest in parents that want to give their kids an opportunity to be good at something. And so, a lot of people I play against these days, they have a coach. I don't have a coach. But a lot of people I play against do have a coach, and you see it. You go to the restaurant next to the chess tournament after the game, and they're online with their chess coach from Russia or something, going over their game already.
That's insane.
I mean, you could walk in any restaurant, some places, and there'll be somebody. I've seen it in a restaurant. Somebody have a chessboard set up and playing during lunch or something, and it's just. the way it's permeated our society and everything. And it's, anybody can play it. You don't have to be. A lot of kids probably get it through the gifted programs at their school, but it's not just from the gifted. It's anybody can learn it. And I hear that every now and then. Oh, that's just for the gifted students. No, it's for everybody.
So my daughter, as you know, Chris,
Right.
when you guys had, was it the Mississippi Chest? So who was set up at the Mississippi State Fair?
We did, yeah. Well, it was an MCA thing. It was something just I put together with our president, Mark Nicholas, and he was there, and we just had tables set up and give people a chance to sit down and actually touch the pieces, play. Some people that knew how the game was played, and they sat down and played games, and others who were a little bit timid, they kind of ask questions about it, but that's what the whole idea was.
So my daughter, who is 11, walked up because it was
Right.
raining and sat down and started playing with you guys. And she's actually, I mean, I wouldn't say great, but like took to it. And I asked, like, because she didn't learn it from me, Doug. I was like, checkers. So I'm a checkers girl. My mom played, like, I like checkers, but not, chess is just, to me, I find it intimidating. But she said she learned it in school, and she's not in the, as gifted is the other word. I can't think of the name of the classes now where they venture. I think is a word that they use a lot. And so I think it's just being, introduced, which I think is awesome. I know your son, Chris, played chess. Did you introduce that to him, or did he?
He brought me
He
into
brought
it.
you into it.
He, in second grade, and on February the 4th, 2018, on a Friday, he came home from school and said, "Daddy, play me a game of chess." I said, "I don't know how to play. I've always wanted to learn, but just never got around to it." And we sat down, and once he showed me how the pieces move, it's like a light bulb clicked in my head. Maybe he's a good teacher. He said the right things, but it just clicked. And I just fell in love with it. It just made sense to me how everything worked. And so we started playing every night and everything. And I just wanted to play with other people, and that's how we got the club started and on from there. And I joined the chess community. But he brought me into it. And so it goes both ways. Families teach each other. Fathers hand it down to their kids, mothers. So it's a generational thing, and in some cases, but it's just for everybody. Anybody can play it.
Doug, why do I find it intimidating? Well, how do you disarm it?
That's a good question.
I feel like I'm not smart enough for it. I feel like that would be the main. If I was honest, I'd be like, man, it just looks like smart people play chess. Checkers is more simplistic. There's too many things to remember.
Well, it can appear complicated. It helps to try it out. Once you've done it a little bit and you get comfortable, hey, I can actually pick up this piece and put it over here and not drop it along the way. It starts to build up your confidence a little bit more.
And then I think if I got beaten 5 minutes, that would make me sad.
Well, see that I consider myself in a little bit of a unique position because I learned it so late in life. There's not enough time in life expectancy that I'm going to become a grandmaster, and I know that. I play for the love of the game. Mm-hmm. I try to win every game I play, but if I lose, so what? It's always going to be the next game. And through that tournament I played, my first state tournament, I got better as I went along that tournament. I played better, went deeper as that time went. But it's just the more you play, the better you get, the more you put into it, like anything else. But I tell people, don't try to learn it all at once when you first get in. Find something, learn how each piece moves one at a time, and then work on a certain strategy, get that down really good, then move to another one. Biting off a little bit at a time, and then before you know it, you'll be a lot better than I think you will.
So how old were you, Chris, when you started?
47.
And so would you encourage other people who may be middle-aged or wiser
At any
in age?
age. I mean, I've seen people get into when I had a display set up at our Lake Fest Festival a couple of weeks or so ago, I had a grandmother sit down and ask me how to teach her. And she had to be in her 60s or 70s or something. But so anybody at any age, it might be more challenging. I'm a little bit jealous of kids because they soak it up so quick.
Absolutely.
But I wish I had gotten into it, when I was growing up in the heyday of Bobby Fischer back then. But it just didn't happen. But it's just so much opportunity there. And I tell people that there's so many benefits to chess because it can help you in other parts of your life. It teaches you focus, problem-solving skills, patience.
Maybe that's why I'm not good at it.
There are all kinds of things that can bleed over into other things.
The very little patience over here. Doug, how old were you when you first got into chess?
So I was 17, and starting young is a real thing. If you don't start young, I think it's somewhere around 12. There's certain things that form in your brain that make it a little harder to learn something like that. And so for having started at 17, I'm doing really good.
Yeah.
Now, the world-class players, they're starting by age 5. They're already playing.
Oh, well, EJ's 4, Rhino, so I've got like 6 months to get her in, so maybe we can have a grandmaster in our house. But stick with us. We got more with chess coming up next. But don't forget to watch us. We are on your computer, your mobile device. Just head on over to SuperTalk TV to see the chess game continuing with Chris and Doug. Okay, who's winning? I don't even know how this plays.
It's still in the opening.
It's still in the
stage.
opening. Oh, well, we don't have enough of good things left for a 4-hour. No. I love, though, that we're just talking about chess, the game of it, but also the accessibility to it, the growing interest of it across the state, which I know, Chris, that's been a big part of you. Doug, you talk about getting into chess at the age of 17 and now being midlife, we'll put you that way. Can you see the interest has grown since when you got in as a teenager, now well into your adult years? Do you notice the interest has grown?
Yeah, I actually a couple years ago, I took over running our state scholastic championships. And
that means the school, right?
That means like school, yeah. So everywhere from basically, I mean, I guess you could show up if you were a preschooler, but, K through 12 essentially. And I've tried to keep them really centralized to the central Mississippi. I mean, obviously we got a big, diverse state that it takes a long time to drive across, right? So if you have tournaments, state championships in Gulfport or Olive Branch, it obviously limits who can show up. So we try to keep them central, and attendance has really increased. I mean, I was especially on the girls' side. So 2 years ago, we had 10 girls playing in our state girls scholastic championship, and that's a tournament that gives them the opportunity to represent Mississippi on the national level at the Tournament of Girls State Champions. And this year we had 36.
Wow.
So we went from 10 to 36 in 2 years.
And it's growing, too, just in women's, because for the first time ever, you guys are going to have a separate women's championship opportunity. Explain that. Yeah, so in September, we're going to have our first ever women's state championship. A lot of our female players are girls, so I expect there to be quite a few school-age girls playing there. But our second strongest player in the state is also female. She's an adult, so hopefully she'll show up. But it'll be our first ever, and we're really excited to offer that. We also had our first senior championship for guys our ages this year too. And that just means that the popularity is growing, so you're able to create additional events that can cater to more specific people. It's not that they can't still do the open or can't still do whatever. You're just sort of now giving people more opportunity. But to me, if the people are showing up, then they're asking for it, then this is great that you're having all these different. Talking about that national level, so Doug, you've been there. You've been state champ 4 times. Like, what's next? Like, when you win state champ here in Mississippi, where do you go to represent Mississippi next? So there's actually several state titles that allow you to play on the national level. Now, in terms of the overall state champion, there is usually they'll have an online tournament, and then somebody gets to go qualify and maybe play in like the U.S. Championship. For the other titles, specifically for elementary, middle school, high school, girls, and senior, all of our Mississippi representatives get to play in their respective national title events in August. This year it's in Norfolk, Virginia. So we'll have 5 people going from Mississippi that won tournaments here that'll go represent us on the national level and get a chance for a national title. So the scholastic, that's not necessarily their school age, but they may be homeschooled, they may be in school but doing it outside of their school. Not all schools have like chess teams, correct, Chris? But you're trying to change that a little bit.
Well, one step at a time. They were working on that, but it just more schools are getting into it as they learn about the opportunities. But we're seeing more of it.
And you're trying to get 2 school districts?
Right. My local Scott County School District and Forest City School District, I'm meeting with their leadership in the next few weeks to get something going in our organized way of getting chess going more than what it has been.
If someone's listening to Good Things and they would like to see chess in their kids' schools, do they contact you and sort of see how to do that, or?
They can. We have the Mississippi Scholastic Chess Association. You can Google that. They have a website. The Mississippi Chess Association has a website. I have a website. So if you Google Scott County Chess Club, or it's scottcountychessclub.org for me, and I have information on my website about what's going on in the state. So, any number of those places will get you hooked up. It won't be hard to find it.
They're not, the school doesn't have chess available. If a school-age child is interested in chess, they can still come out and compete. You don't have to be associated with a team.
Yeah, we'll find
a
way to get them in, and look at their dynamic to see how we can get them going. But we don't want to leave anybody behind that wants to be a part of the game, because that's what it's all about, is getting everybody involved.
And if parents or caregivers are listening, I think the summer's a great time, Doug, to sort of introduce kids to something new and that will take brain power, and then also, isn't digital. There are digital options with chess now, but what's the easiest way to sort of teach them the game? Maybe if you don't know the game, maybe you're like, what, I've got this chess checkerboard thingy in the attic, let me get it down. How do you best introduce kids to the game of chess?
I think there are a lot of videos on YouTube that people use these days. Like chess streaming has become like a really big thing. Lots of introductory ones there. You can always find your local chess club. If you want to connect with us, we have a group on Facebook called Mississippi Chess. Anybody can join. Just ask a question, and we'll try to get you hooked up with local resources.
Locally here, the Capital City Chess Club meets on Tuesdays, each Tuesday from 5:30 to 8:30 at the food court at the Outlet Mall in Pearl, and we have any number of players that come there every week, and from all skilled beginners and all the way to very experienced. And somebody will help. You just show up there and we'll get you going. Just say, hey, I want to play chess. What can I do? How can I? And we'll get you going. We'll make it happen.
Jeff in Pontotoc on our C Spire text line wants to know if you guys are obviously chess players, but do you play checkers, and are you any good at it?
I have no. I don't. I played checkers. I played checkers as a kid, like a lot of the people did, but I fall in love with chess so much. I just really don't want to play checkers again. It's just so much more to this game than that's just me.
Don't be snobby. I'm totally kidding, Chris. I think it's one of those things, you either and or in that way, or what you sort of grew up with. There's not a right or sort of wrong answer in that at all. I would assume, though, if you had the love of chess and sort of understood that game, checkers probably feels like tic-tac-toe, but just maybe a little more simplistic, Doug?
Yeah.
Well, for me personally, I would say my chess skill doesn't quite translate to checkers that well. I don't consider myself an elite level checker player, sadly.
Well, then flip that board over. I will play you in a game of checkers.
You could very well beat me.
Yeah, you just never know. In any given game, anybody can win. It's you never lose. Either you win or you learn. Yeah. There are no losers in chess, and the number one rule in chess, in my opinion, is to have fun.
Well, I think that's in anything. And again, I love that families can do it. I love that kids, and it doesn't have to be, there's not this huge age gap you can go up against, sort of the different, and it can last you and well into your 50 plus, as you guys are finding sort of that now. But Doug, since you've been playing the longest and have obviously gone to higher levels with it, what's one of your most memorable matches? Like, looking back, was it one you won in 5 minutes, or is it one you sweated out for like 5 hours?
Yeah, so before the Queen's Gambit, there was this movie called Searching for Bobby Fischer that people may have seen, and it was about basically a player by the name of Josh Waitzkin and his experience. In 1992, I went to Kentucky to play in the National High School Championships, and I wasn't in the same section as him, but I ended up in the top 5 of the section I was in, and he was like the next table over. That was very cool. And then at that same tournament, I actually won all my games except for one. I only lost to the person that won it out of the 300 plus in my section. And I got to meet Garry Kasparov, who was the world champion at the time. It was from Russia. And, back then it was 1992. The Soviet Union just fell the year before. Wasn't normal for somebody to jet set from Moscow to, the United States every week. So that was a very that was a very special treat. I have a picture that I had with him, and my grandparents used to have it out, and people thought I beat him because he looked like he was kind of bored. So,
Or is there like moments that still haunt you? Because I feel like chess, you go back, you would have to be one of those that, man, am I going to see that coming? Or
the Night Fork by Chris Lick in 1992, I might not have forgotten about that one. So that was a tough loss. So.
Well, I love that this is something that's, again, accessible to everybody. And Chris, I just love your passion for trying to expand it. I mean, you've been coming to Good Things for the last, 4 years,
This is
I think?
my 4th time here.
Yep, annual May meeting
Yeah.
of talking about chess in Mississippi, but it's growing, and I think it's a good thing. I think if people are interested in it, they should take that next leap and sort of dive in and know there's a community there waiting for them.
The whole world, actually, but we have a great chess community in Mississippi, and people that really love the game, and we'll do everything we can to get everybody in that wants to be a part of it.
All right, well, I appreciate you guys' time, and you all stick with us. We got a few more good things for you coming up next.